The night sky over Earth was usually calm. Stars blinked in their quiet way, and the moon shone like a patient friend. But on this night something new appeared. Tiny dots of silver light grew larger, brighter, and then shaped themselves into sharp lines. People all over the world looked up and saw shadows crossing the stars. At first, many thought it was a meteor shower or a rare space event. Social media exploded with pictures and excited comments. Children pointed their fingers upward and shouted for their parents to look. Amateur astronomers adjusted their telescopes, their hearts beating with curiosity. But the shapes kept growing, and soon they were no longer tiny. Massive objects floated above the clouds, long and dark like pieces of night cut into hard metal. Their sides glowed with soft blue lights. Cities from New York to Beijing to Cape Town fell silent as people stared. The ships were so large that they blocked parts of the sky. The moon itself looked small next to them. Governments scrambled to respond. Air forces went on high alert, but no one dared to fire. The ships were too many, too big, and too perfectly still. They hovered like mountains in the air, waiting. Inside one of the largest ships, Grand Admiral Zorath of the Galactic Empire stood before a wide screen. His tall silver-gray body reflected the light of the controls around him. His deep black eyes showed no fear. He was a leader of countless victories. For centuries, the Empire had crossed the stars, conquering worlds one after another. Some species resisted for a time, but in the end all bent to the power of the Empire. Fear was always the key. "This is a young planet," Zorath said to his officers. His voice was low, heavy like distant thunder. "Their technology is primitive. Their armies are small. We will not waste soldiers. We will use fear as we always do. They will surrender before we even touch their soil." His officers bowed their heads. "Yes, Grand Admiral," they answered together. A communication beam flashed across the darkness of space and connected to every screen on Earth. Televisions, phones, and even giant advertisement boards went black for a second, then lit with the image of Zorath. His tall figure filled the screens. Behind him, a burning red star swirled like a warning. "People of Earth," Zorath began. His deep voice rolled across the planet. "I am Grand Admiral Zorath of the Galactic Empire. Your world is now under the attention of our great power. Your oceans, your lands, your skies belong to us. Do not resist. If you surrender, you may live under our protection. If you fight, you will be destroyed. You have one rotation of your planet to answer." The message ended. Screens went black again. The ships above Earth stayed silent and still. For a moment, there was quiet everywhere. Governments held emergency meetings. Military leaders whispered over secret lines. News anchors tried to explain what had just happened. Some people hugged their families. Some prayed. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of falling into panic, people began to laugh. It started small. One street in London where a group of students giggled nervously at the dramatic speech. A video of their laughter spread online within minutes. In New York, a taxi driver shouted, "Nice special effects," and honked his horn. Children in a park in Sydney started waving at the ships as if they were giant balloons in a parade. Social media turned wild. Memes of the space guy with shiny shoulders flooded every platform. Someone remixed Zorath's threatening speech into a dance song. Another added funny subtitles. "Please send pizza or we invade." Hashtags like Kursk Space Party and "Nice Spaceships Bro" climbed to the top of trending lists. Zorath watched all of this from his command ship. His black eyes narrowed. "Are they laughing?" he asked. "Yes, Grand Admiral," said his second officer, a nervous creature with green skin and silver rings around its neck. "It seems they—" "Enjoy your warning. Enjoy?" Zorath repeated as if the word itself was an insult. He had delivered the same speech to a dozen worlds before. Normally fear spread like cold fire. Civilization surrendered in hours, but this small blue planet did not tremble. Instead, they pointed their cameras, made jokes, and shared music. Zorath turned to the window, staring down at the glowing blue curve of Earth. "Perhaps they do not understand," he said. "Increase the display of power. Let them see the storms of the Empire." Below, humans continued their strange celebration. In Times Square, huge crowds gathered, taking selfies with the giant ships in the background. Vendors sold glow sticks and alien-themed snacks. A street musician played a guitar version of the Empire's threat message. People tossed coins into his case and danced to the rhythm. In Tokyo, an old man stood calmly on a rooftop sipping tea as he watched the hovering giants. "Beautiful lights," he told his granddaughter. She giggled and agreed. In a small village in Kenya, children ran through the fields pointing at the ships and shouting guesses about what kind of creatures might live inside. Some imagined tall robots, others thought of friendly animals. No one spoke of fear. Governments tried to maintain order, but even soldiers on duty were caught smiling as they watched videos of people making jokes about space tourists. One soldier whispered to another, "If they wanted to scare us, they should have raised fuel prices instead." Both men laughed quietly before standing straight again. The next message from the Empire came within the hour. This time the ships created enormous holograms in the sky. Red lightning cracked through clouds. Giant skull-shaped images formed above major cities. Buildings shook from low-frequency sound waves. Still, humans refused to panic. Children clapped at the lightning like it was a fireworks show. Couples held hands and took pictures of the glowing skulls. Musicians used the deep sound waves to create new beats for street performances. A famous comedian posted a video saying, 10 out of 10 for special effects, but 0 for originality. Inside the flagship, Admiral Zorath clenched his long fingers around the railing. "Impossible," he muttered. "No species resists fear like this." His science officer brought new data. "Grand Admiral, we are observing unusual psychological patterns. Humans appear to find entertainment in danger. They share jokes even during crises. Fear does not weaken them, it brings them together." Zorath stared at the screen showing millions of humans laughing, cheering, and waving at his fleet. He thought of all the worlds that had fallen before the Empire. None had reacted like this. "Strange creatures," he whispered. For the people of Earth, the night became a celebration. Streets filled with music and light. Children stayed awake far past bedtime to watch the ships. Poets wrote quick verses about the night the stars came closer. Some scientists already debated how to communicate with the visitors, but most citizens were too busy enjoying the spectacle. Above them, the Empire's mighty fleet remained still, like frozen mountains of silver and black. Inside, Grand Admiral Zorath planned his next move. He had come to break a planet with fear, but instead he found a species that laughed in the face of power. The game had changed. The Galactic Empire was not used to confusion. Their fleets were built to inspire terror, not amusement. Inside the command hall of the flagship, Grand Admiral Zorath stood tall, his silver-gray armor reflecting the cold lights of the control room. Around him, alien officers shifted nervously. Their monitors showed countless human faces smiling, laughing, and even dancing in the glow of the Empire's mighty ships. "This is unacceptable," Zorath said, his deep voice echoing like rolling thunder. "They treat our warning as entertainment. We will show them what true fear means." His second officer, a slender being with emerald skin, bowed slightly. "Grand Admiral, our historical data shows that humans react strangely to fear." "Take silence," Zorath commanded. "No species can resist the storms of the Empire. Prepare the intimidation protocol. We will cover their skies with power. We will shake their world until their courage breaks." The order spread across the fleet like a wave. Engines hummed to life. Energy cores glowed bright blue. In every major city on Earth, the night suddenly turned brighter than day. Above New York, the largest ship extended massive wings of metal, each the size of a mountain. From those wings, beams of light shot downward, painting the clouds in colors of red and violet. A low, deep vibration rumbled through the air, making windows tremble and rivers ripple. In Paris, giant holographic symbols appeared in the sky, strange shapes from an alien language, spinning slowly like warnings carved in fire. In Beijing, enormous sound waves rolled across the city, creating a bass so heavy that cups of tea shook on kitchen tables. In Cairo, the air itself seemed to shimmer, bending light in strange ways. The Empire expected screams. They expected chaos, running crowds, and desperate leaders begging for mercy. Instead, they heard music. In New York, a group of street performers turned the deep vibrations into a beat for their drums. People gathered around them, clapping in rhythm. Children danced in the glowing red light, their faces lit with joy. In Paris, artists pulled out their paint and began sketching the floating alien symbols, calling them the new stars. One young painter shouted, "Free light show," and dozens of others joined in, spreading their canvases across the ground. In Nairobi, a popular radio host laughed live on air. "If this is the end of the world," he said, "then it is the most beautiful end I have ever seen." Listeners sent messages agreeing, and soon people across Africa were sharing photos of the glowing skies with cheerful captions. Social media burned like a wildfire. Videos of people dancing under the alien light spread faster than the Empire's own transmissions. Memes called the display Galactic Disco Night. A famous musician released a quick remix of the alien sound waves, and within an hour millions of humans were singing along. Admiral Zorath watched it all in growing disbelief. He had ordered a storm of fear. Instead, he had given the humans a reason to celebrate. "Grand Admiral," said the science officer carefully, "our analysis shows that humans experience a chemical reaction when faced with fear. Their bodies release substances that can also create excitement. It appears that danger can feel enjoyable to them." Zorath turned sharply, his black eyes flashing. "You are telling me that fear brings them pleasure?" "It seems so, Grand Admiral," the officer said, bowing lower. The Admiral's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "Then we will not frighten them. We will overwhelm them. Begin the quake display." The fleet moved again. From the largest ships, invisible pulses struck Earth's upper atmosphere. The ground itself began to hum. Buildings vibrated gently like strings of a giant instrument. The sound traveled through mountains and oceans, a deep and endless tone that made the air feel alive. On Earth, people first paused, then smiled wider. In Tokyo, musicians pulled out traditional drums and joined the rhythm of the planet. Crowds gathered in city squares, clapping in time with the strange new music. Some called it the heartbeat of the sky. In Rio de Janeiro, dancers filled the beaches, their steps matching the deep pulses. Someone started a live broadcast called Space Carnival, and millions tuned in to watch humans celebrate under the alien fleet. Even scientists, who at first warned of structural risks, could not hide their curiosity. "The frequency is precise," one engineer said during a live interview. "It is almost like a song." The Empire's officers stared at their monitors in shock. Instead of terror, they saw fireworks of joy. Instead of chaos, they saw unity. Entire cities danced as one. Admiral Zorath felt something he had not felt in centuries: uncertainty. He turned to his second officer. "What kind of species laughs at the edge of conquest?" The officer hesitated before answering. "Perhaps a species that has faced worse on its own world." Zorath considered the data again. Reports from the science division spoke of Earth's violent storms, dangerous wildlife, and countless wars fought across history. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters. Their stories were full of struggle and survival. "Fear is their companion," Zorath said slowly. "They have lived with it so long that they have made it familiar." The officer nodded. "Yes, Grand Admiral. They have learned to turn fear into strength, maybe even into humor." Zorath turned back to the great window, watching the blue planet below. Cities sparkled like living jewels beneath the silver ships. Crowds cheered and danced, unaware or perhaps unconcerned that an empire stood ready to conquer them. "We cannot continue like this," Zorath said. "If fear cannot break them, perhaps we must speak to them." But the Admiral was not ready to surrender his pride. "One more attempt," he ordered. "We will display the full power of the fleet. Let them see the storms of our weapons, not to fire, only to show. If they laugh at this, then we will reconsider." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. None dared to question him. The fleet prepared for its grandest display. Energy cannons charged, their cores glowing with brilliant light. Great rings of power spun across the ships' hulls. Above every continent, the night sky turned white with energy. Oceans reflected the glow like mirrors. On Earth, people gasped at the sight. For a single heartbeat, even the bravest fell silent. The air crackled with the smell of static, and the ground trembled like the world itself was holding its breath. Then a child in London shouted, "It looks like a giant birthday cake." Laughter burst from the crowd. Others joined in, cheering and clapping at the spectacle. A pilot flying near the glow radioed, "If they start singing, we'll bring the candles." The silence shattered. Music began again. People sang birthday songs to the sky, waving at the glowing ships as if they were invited guests. Fireworks meant for local festivals were launched to match the alien style. Admiral Zorath's jaw tightened. His fleet had just performed the greatest display of power in Imperial history, and Earth had turned it into a party. "Grand Admiral," whispered the science officer, "perhaps it is time to change strategy." Zorath exhaled slowly, a sound like grinding stone. Perhaps, he said at last. These humans, they are not like any we have faced. Far below, the celebration grew brighter. From New York to Nairobi, from Paris to Perth, laughter echoed against the stars. Humans danced under alien light, fearless and free. The night that was meant to break their spirit instead became a night they would remember with joy. The Empire had tried to scare them, but Earth had given only music and laughter in return. For the first time in his long career, Grand Admiral Zorath felt the weight of a truth he did not wish to admit. Fear would not win this war. The night of lights passed into a bright new day, but the alien fleet remained. The ships still floated above Earth like silent mountains in the sky. People around the world woke to the same sight, massive silver shapes glinting in the morning sun. Instead of fear, there was excitement. Children ate breakfast while pointing to the glowing outlines in the clouds. Adults carried cameras to work, hoping for new pictures. Street vendors sold hats with little alien symbols and shirts printed with funny slogans like, "Welcome, Space Friends." Inside the Galactic flagship, however, the mood was not cheerful. Grand Admiral Zorath stood before a vast window, watching the lively planet below. His black eyes narrowed as he reviewed the night's reports. Every city had celebrated. Every attempt at intimidation had failed. Fear, the strongest weapon of the Empire, had no effect on this species. "Grand Admiral," said the science officer, bowing respectfully, "our observers confirm that the humans continue to gather in large groups. Their messages across the planet remain positive. There are no signs of surrender." Zorath's silver-gray armor caught the cold light of the control room as he turned. "They will speak to us," he said. "Open all listening channels. Force their leaders to respond. If they continue to ignore our warnings, we will adjust our strategy." The order spread through the fleet. Communication beams extended like invisible fingers across the skies, linking every satellite and every network. The Empire's translators prepared for a signal from Earth. For a long hour, nothing came. Then, at last, the screens of the flagship flickered. A single transmission appeared, simple and direct. It was not from a government, not from an army, but from a global network of scientists and communication experts working together. The message carried no fancy symbols, no flags, and no threats. It was a single sound: laughter. It began softly like a wave rolling over a quiet shore. Then it grew, joined by thousands of voices. Men, women, and children of every culture and language laughed together, their joy rising like music through the cold vacuum of space. The sound carried across the Empire's receivers, filling the command hall with echoes of amusement. Officers glanced at each other in shock. No words, no demands, only laughter. Admiral Zorath felt the sound vibrate through his chest. It was not cruel. It was not mocking. It was alive, warm, strong, and full of something he could not name. It was as if the entire planet was telling him the same message without speaking. "We are not afraid." The second officer, his emerald skin shimmering with tension, whispered, "Grand Admiral, what is this?" "It is defiance," Zorath said quietly, "but not the kind we know." The science officer checked the data streams. "Grand Admiral, the humans are sending this message across every possible frequency. It is reaching not only our fleet but also every colony relay in the nearby systems. The entire sector will hear this laughter." Zorath's fingers tightened around the edge of the control panel. "Then let them hear," he said, his voice low. "Let the galaxy know these humans laugh in the face of the Empire." He turned back to the screen and studied the smiling faces of Earth. Men and women held signs of welcome. Children waved toys shaped like alien ships. Musicians played instruments alongside the rolling sound of laughter, turning it into a melody that danced through the transmission. "Strange," Zorath murmured. "They do not hate us. They do not fear us. They invite us." Reports from the science division arrived one after another. Ancient Earth history revealed a pattern. Humans had faced floods, storms, plagues, and wars. They had survived ice ages and burning summers. Again and again they rebuilt. Where other species would crumble, humans adapted. Fear was not a weapon to them. It was a familiar companion. "They laugh," said the science officer, "because they have learned to live with danger. They have learned to find joy even when the world is dark. Their stories are full of heroes who face impossible odds and still smile." "This is not weakness, Grand Admiral. This is strength." Zorath stood silent, his mind turning like the great engines of his fleet. He remembered countless conquests, countless frightened leaders begging for mercy. None had ever answered the Empire with laughter. None had ever shown such fearless joy. "Prepare a counter-message," he finally ordered. "We will address their planet directly." But this time, no threats. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. A fleet built on intimidation did not send friendly greetings. But none dared to question the Grand Admiral. When the communication beam opened again, Zorath appeared on every screen on Earth. His tall figure stood against the dark backdrop of stars. But his voice, though still deep and strong, carried no thunder. "People of Earth," he began, "your response has reached us. Your laughter is heard across the galaxy. You do not fear our ships. You do not fear our power. This is unexpected." He paused, searching for words that were not in the Empire's usual vocabulary. "Why do you not fear us?" he asked. The reply came not from a single leader, but from thousands of voices. The translators combined the answers into one clear message. "Because fear does not own us," said the unified voice. "We have lived with storms. We have faced fire and ice. We have lost and rebuilt. We laugh because life is short and precious. We laugh because we are alive." The command hall fell silent. Officers shifted uneasily, but none spoke. Zorath closed his eyes for a brief moment. In that silence, he felt something unusual. Respect. The science officer leaned forward. "Grand Admiral, the humans offer no surrender, but they also offer no war. Their message carries." "Welcome," Zorath opened his eyes. "Welcome?" "Yes," the officer said. "They invite us to visit. They invite us to speak. They invite us to share." For a long time, Zorath said nothing. His mind weighed the impossible. The Galactic Empire ruled by fear, but fear meant nothing here. To fight these humans would mean fighting a force that did not break. To conquer them would mean destroying a planet that refused to tremble. "Perhaps," Zorath said at last, "it is not they who need to fear us. Perhaps it is we who must learn from them." He gave a new command. "Stand down all intimidation protocols. No more storms, no more displays of power. Prepare a meeting signal. If these humans wish to speak, then we will speak." The order spread across the fleet. Engines cooled. Holograms faded. The deep vibrations in the air softened until the planet grew quiet once more. On Earth, people noticed the change. The skies cleared. The ships remained, but their lights dimmed to a gentle glow. A calm message followed. "We accept your invitation to talk." Cheers erupted across the world. Crowds hugged each other in the streets. Musicians played victory songs. Children danced under the soft silver light of the alien fleet. In a quiet corner of the command hall, Zorath watched the joyful planet. He thought of all the worlds he had conquered, all the species that had bowed before the Empire's power. None of them had taught him what this small blue planet had shown in a single day. That laughter can be stronger than fear, and that courage can be as simple as joy. He turned to his officers. "Prepare an envoy," he said. "But remember this, we do not come as conquerors, we come as guests." The officers bowed, their eyes wide with surprise. For the first time in his long career, Grand Admiral Zorath felt something like admiration. Far below, Earth continued to celebrate. Fireworks lit the sky in 1,000 colors. Songs of welcome echoed across mountains and oceans. The humans had sent their answer, and the galaxy would remember it forever. A single planet united not by weapons, but by the unstoppable sound of laughter. The great ships of the Galactic Empire floated quietly above Earth, their silver hulls glowing in the sunlight like peaceful moons. The world below no longer watched with fear, but with excitement. News stations called it the most important day in human history, while children simply called it Space Friendship Day. Grand Admiral Zorath stood inside the flagship command hall, staring down at the blue planet. His black eyes reflected the soft light of Earth's oceans. Only hours earlier he had tried to conquer this world through fear. Now he prepared to visit it as a guest. "Envoy ships ready for descent," reported the second officer. The emerald-skinned being kept his voice calm, but his silver rings trembled around his neck. No one in the Empire's long history had ever been ordered to land without an army. "Proceed," Zorath said. His deep voice carried none of the thunder of conquest. It was steady and thoughtful, a sound that matched the quiet turning of the planet below. Small silver craft detached from the massive flagship. Their engines glowed blue as they drifted through Earth's atmosphere. From the ground, People cheered as the shining vessels cut smooth paths across the morning sky. The first landing took place on a wide plain near Geneva, chosen by both sides for its open fields and neutral location. A circle of green grass waited like a natural welcome mat. Around the landing site, representatives from every nation stood together, their flags fluttering in the breeze. Nearby, cameras from every corner of Earth recorded the moment for billions of viewers. When the ships touched the ground, the air shimmered with soft light. Hatches opened with a gentle hiss. No weapons emerged. No soldiers marched. Instead, tall alien figures stepped forward with careful grace. Their silver-gray armor shone in the sunlight, and their black eyes scanned the gathering of humans with curiosity. Grand Admiral Zorath was the last to leave the ship. His presence alone made the crowd fall silent. He was taller than any human leader, his long frame both elegant and strong. But there was no anger in his movements, no shadow of threat. He paused at the bottom of the ramp and looked across the wide field at the humans who stood waiting. Among the human leaders, a woman from the United Nations stepped forward. Her voice carried through translators and speakers, clear and calm. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "We are honored to meet you." Zorath inclined his head. "I am Grand Admiral Zorath of the Galactic Empire," he replied. His deep voice rolled across the field like a distant drum. "We came to demand your surrender. Instead, we found..." Laughter. A ripple of smiles spread through the human crowd. Cameras captured the moment, sending it live to every home on the planet. "We laugh because life is a gift," the UN leader said gently. "We laugh because fear is not our master. If you came to learn who we are, you now know this truth." Zorath studied her for a long moment. "Your courage is rare," he said at last. "Your unity is remarkable. Many worlds fall apart when threatened. You grew stronger." "Perhaps," she said, "because we have always faced storms, and perhaps because we believe friendship is stronger than fear." Around them, the air hummed softly as translators carried every word to the humans watching across the globe and to the officers waiting in the Empire's flagship above. Then something unexpected happened. A group of human musicians stepped forward. They carried drums, guitars, and small electronic instruments. Without waiting for ceremony, they began to play. The music started slow, a gentle rhythm that matched the quiet heartbeat of the planet. Then it grew, adding layers of melody and joyful sound. Children clapped. Adults smiled. The wide green field filled with music that danced upward into the clear blue sky. The alien officers shifted uneasily. They were trained for war, not music. But something about the sound held them still. The deep notes echoed through their chests. The bright tones lit sparks of warmth even in those who had never heard Earth songs before. Grand Admiral Zorath stood motionless. His black eyes softened as the music swelled. For the first time in many lifetimes, he felt a strange emotion rise within him. Admiration. One of the younger officers leaned close and whispered, "Grand Admiral, is this a strategy?" "No," Zorath answered quietly. "It is a gift." When the song ended, the crowd erupted in applause. Zorath raised one long hand, a gesture of respect. "Your music speaks without words," he said. "It carries strength, not fear. It tells me more about your world than any weapon could." The UN leader smiled. "Would you like to share something from your world in return?" The Admiral turned to his officers. For a moment, they hesitated. The Empire's culture valued discipline and silence, not open sharing. Yet one officer stepped forward carrying a small crystal device. With a touch, it projected a soft, shimmering image of the Grand Nebula, a vast field of stars and color far beyond human reach. Gasps of wonder filled the field as the nebula glowed above them, a river of purple and gold drifting across the blue sky. Children pointed with shining eyes. Cameras captured every sparkle. "It is beautiful," said the UN leader. "It is home," Zorath replied. "And now it is a gift to you." The crowd applauded again. Some humans even bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that crossed the boundaries of species. Throughout the day, humans and aliens exchanged more than words. Earth scientists showed simple but clever inventions built with limited resources. Solar-powered machines, water-purifying devices, and small rockets fascinated the alien visitors. In return, the Empire's engineers demonstrated energy crystals that glowed like captured sunlight, and tools that could heal minor injuries with a gentle beam. Children offered handmade drawings of the ships. Alien officers accepted them carefully, as if each paper star was a treasure. As the sun began to set, the meeting turned into something neither side had expected. A celebration. Food trucks arrived from nearby towns, serving warm bread, fruit, and steaming dishes from every culture. The sweet smell of spices mixed with the cool air of evening. Some aliens tasted pizza for the first time and tilted their heads in delight. Others sampled fruit juices and clicked their tongues in surprise at the flavors. Musicians played again, this time with both human and alien instruments. The strange tones of Imperial resonance mixed with the familiar notes of Earth's guitars, creating a sound that was entirely new. People danced on the grass. Children from both species chased each other through the fading light. Grand Admiral Zorath watched it all in thoughtful silence. He had come to Earth believing he would break a young world with fear. Instead, this world had shown him something stronger than any fleet. The second officer approached carefully. "Grand Admiral, what shall we report to the Empire?" Zorath looked up at the stars now glowing in the night sky. "Report the truth," he said. "Tell them we have met a species that cannot be ruled by fear. Tell them we have found allies, not subjects." The officer hesitated. "Will the Senate accept this?" "They will have no choice," Zorath replied. "Because if they try to conquer this planet, they will not only face resistance, they will face laughter, and laughter, as we have seen, can spread faster than any army." He turned back to the field where humans and aliens shared food and music. For the first time in many centuries, the Grand Admiral felt the heavy armor of his rank grow lighter. Perhaps, he thought, the Empire had been chasing the wrong kind of victory all along. Above them, the massive fleet continued to hover in silent formation. But now their presence felt different. They were not shadows of threat. They were silent guests, watching the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. As the stars brightened overhead, a child ran to Zorath and offered a small glowing bracelet made of simple plastic beads. The Grand Admiral bent down, towering over the tiny human, and accepted the gift with careful hands. "Thank you," he said softly. The child grinned. "Now you're part of the party." And for the first time in his long life, Grand Admiral Zorath allowed himself a small, genuine smile. Weeks passed since the Galactic Empire's fleet first appeared over Earth. The massive ships, once symbols of fear, now floated quietly above the planet, like silver clouds reflecting the sunlight. Life on Earth went on as usual, but with one remarkable change. Humans no longer looked at the stars with fear. They looked with curiosity, with excitement, and with laughter. Grand Admiral Zorath watched from the flagship as Earth's cities moved beneath the hovering ships. People continued their celebrations, creating art, music, and stories inspired by the visitors above. The Empire had come expecting submission. Instead, they found a planet united by joy and courage. "Report, officer," Zorath said to his second-in-command. "The humans continue to thrive," the officer said. "Their unity remains strong. They have shared knowledge, culture, and gifts with our envoys. There is no sign of panic or rebellion. They welcome us as guests, not subjects." Zorath nodded slowly. He thought of the countless worlds the Empire had conquered, the civilizations that had fallen under fear and power. None had ever met the Empire with laughter. None had ever faced the storm of its fleet without trembling. Earth was different. "They are unpredictable," he said quietly, "and that makes them powerful." Back on the planet, human scientists had begun careful studies of the fleet. They recorded data, drew diagrams, and even invited the alien engineers to collaborate on small experiments. Children visited the landing site daily, waving at the towering figures in silver armor. They brought drawings, toys, and songs, sharing their world without hesitation. One human engineer showed the aliens a simple solar-powered water purifier, explaining its function with pride. An alien officer studied it carefully, nodding in appreciation. Another human offered a handcrafted musical instrument. Together, humans and aliens played a duet that carried across the plain, blending alien tones with human melodies. The Galactic Empire's soldiers had never seen anything like this. They were trained to dominate, to enforce obedience with power. Here, on this small blue planet, they saw respect, friendship, and joy take the place of fear. Zorath walked among them for the first time without armor. The humans approached him openly. A young girl handed him a small flower. He accepted it, holding it carefully in his long fingers. Around him, humans clapped, cheered, and sang. It was a celebration not of conquest but of understanding. During one evening meeting, representatives from the Galactic Senate contacted Zorath via a secure channel. "Grand Admiral," a voice said, "we have received reports of your actions on Earth. Explain yourself. How did this primitive planet avoid submission?" Zorath's black eyes narrowed slightly. "They did not submit," he said. "They do not fear us. But they have something no weapon can take: courage, joy, and laughter. They have shown me that power is not only measured by fleets or armies, but by spirit. I recommend that Earth be classified not as a threat, nor as a subject, but as an example." The Senate was silent on the other end. "An example?" "Yes," Zorath said. "Other worlds may learn from them. Their unity, their joy, their willingness to face danger with laughter is remarkable. The Empire would be wise to treat them as allies, not enemies." In the days that followed, Zorath's recommendation reached every corner of the Empire. Scholars, engineers, and diplomats debated this new perspective. A planet that could laugh in the face of fear was something entirely new to the galaxy. On Earth, the celebration continued. A festival formed around the landing site, called the Day of the Silver Ships. Food, music, games, and art filled the area. Humans and alien officers shared experiences from their cultures. Stories of the Empire's distant worlds fascinated the people, and in return, humans shared tales of survival, courage, and humor from Earth's history. Grand Admiral Zorath watched the exchange quietly, a rare sense of peace filling him. He had come expecting obedience. Instead, he had found friendship. One evening, children approached the fleet, carrying small lanterns and string lights. They decorated the ships with patterns of glowing colors, creating a scene that looked like a sky filled with stars. Alien officers, untrained in these ways, hesitated at first, but then they helped, careful with their hands, and soon the ships glowed like part of the festival itself. Humans laughed at their efforts. They guided them gently, teaching them how to tie knots and hang lights. The Empire soldiers learned patience and care. Music played, drums and voices rising into the sky. For a moment, nothing in the galaxy mattered except the joy of the present. In the following weeks, news of Earth's reception spread across neighboring star systems. Other civilizations, many under Imperial rule, began to whisper stories of the planet that laughed at power. Some oppressed worlds began small acts of resistance, inspired not by weapons but by courage. Humans had demonstrated that fear could be resisted, and laughter could spread faster than any army. Zorath's reputation changed as well. Once feared across star systems as a conqueror, he became known for wisdom and open-mindedness. His officers, initially anxious about the mission, now marveled at the strength of Earth's people. They learned that diplomacy could be powerful in ways battle never could. During a final ceremonial gathering, Zorath addressed the humans and his officers together. His deep voice carried across the plain, calm and commanding. "People of Earth," he said, "you have shown the galaxy that courage is not measured by weapons, nor obedience, nor fear. You have shown that spirit, laughter, and unity can protect a world better than any fleet. The Empire has learned from you, and I personally am grateful." The humans cheered, clapping their hands. Children ran to the alien envoys with gifts. Musicians played, weaving a melody that celebrated understanding across species. Later, Zorath met privately with the UN leader. "Your people have done what no army ever could. You have turned fear into friendship," she smiled. "We simply live our lives. Laughter comes naturally. We did not expect the Empire to listen, but we hoped. Sometimes hope is stronger than fear." The Grand Admiral nodded. "You have made the impossible possible. Other worlds will hear of this day. They will remember a planet that refused to bow, yet offered friendship instead." From his flagship, Zorath looked down at the small blue planet, glowing softly under the fading sunlight. The humans continued to sing, dance, and laugh. Their joy was simple yet powerful. It was alive in every street, every home, every heart. The Galactic Empire had arrived to conquer. It left changed. In the months that followed, Earth became known across the galaxy as a place of courage and inspiration. The humans were not feared. They were admired. Their stories spread to planets that had never known hope, and their laughter became a symbol of resistance, joy, and strength. Grand Admiral Zorath often reflected on what he had witnessed. He had believed that conquest was the ultimate proof of power, He now knew that power could take many forms. Wisdom, courage, joy, and laughter were as mighty as fleets of ships or armies of soldiers, and for the humans, life continued much as before, but with a new perspective. They had faced the unknown and responded not with panic but with laughter. Their unity inspired others across the stars. Their courage became legend. Even in the far reaches of the galaxy, oppressed planets whispered the story of Earth, a world that met fear with a smile, danger with music, and the impossible with joy. Grand Admiral Zorath, once the bringer of fear, now stood as a witness to something greater. The humans had done what no other species could. They had turned terror into friendship, laughter into strength, and fear into admiration. As night fell over Earth, lanterns lit the streets, music drifted through the air, and children played beneath the stars. The silver ships above reflected the lights, blending alien and human worlds together in celebration. The galaxy had learned a lesson that no fleet could teach. Courage is not about weapons, and strength is not about fear. It is about the spirit. And Earth, through laughter and joy, had shown the galaxy the true meaning of power.